We are entering a whole new era, the decade of positive change. Around the world, organizations have realized that you cannot intimidate human beings into productivity.
A classroom in today's colleges and universities isn't quite the place it used to be. What is going on in the classroom? The possibilities are endless.
The key is to let people do what they do best, whatever way works best for them.
What's going on here is something that is quite new.
At the same time, fundamental principles of mass production give ordinary people access to powerful technology. That which was affordable to the few becomes available to the many. Mass production becomes mass productivity. The Industrial Revolution meets the Age of Enlightenment. The walls have come down. Opportunity has gone up. And your only limits will be the size of your ideas and the degree of your dedication. People, this is an exciting time to be alive.
Hello everyone, and welcome back for another season of Imagine, the Apple Education TV series. I'm Bert Cummings, and joining me today is Monica Sabo, manager of Apple's community college programs. And since some of the examples we'll be showcasing in today's program are from community colleges, we thought it'd be nice to have Monica here with us for the telecast.
Thanks, Bert. It is nice to be here, and I think it's great that actually two of our featured schools today are community colleges. Today's program marks the first of this year's monthly telecasts. Our plan today is to take you inside several classrooms around the country and show you firsthand and up close the impact computers are making in education, both from the instructor's point of view as well as from the student's perspective. We call today's program appropriately Macintosh in the Classroom.
A little side note here. You may have recognized the fact that part of our opening segment today was taken from a recent Apple TV commercial. But what you may not know is that this gentleman, the instructor in today's opening, is a real professor, not an actor, from Western Michigan University. And I have to add here that I was personally thrilled to see such a focus on education, particularly in higher education, in our most recent ad campaign. When you think about all the possibilities that were there for Apple to choose from, to feature in that commercial, and education to be the choice, well, right now is a very exciting time to be where you are and doing what you're doing. And in today's show, Monica and I plan to share with you some of those exciting things out there that are going on.
Not only will we look into today's classrooms to see how technology is impacting the learning process, we'll also explore the future a bit and see what may lie just over the horizon. Should be exciting. And as in our past telecasts, we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. Here's the number to call if you have a question for us, 1-408-974-4400, or if you're outside California, it's 1-800-344-0348. But that's later on in the program.
We plan today's program in such a way that you'll be seeing very little of us and lots of real-life examples. So in that spirit, let's get going.
All right. If you wish to espouse theories...
It's funny that we start today's show with a classroom where there are no Macintosh computers. This is Brian Fagan's anthropology class at the University of California at Santa Barbara. And in this class, Brian holds only one weekly lecture, and then sends his students on their way for the rest of the week to perform their assignments. Although I don't think it's quite that simple. One of their assignments is a mandatory Macintosh exercise, requiring anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours to complete. Brian describes his class as an exercise in learning. He's also quick to say that the brains behind the Macintosh exercises is his partner in all of this, George Michaels. Brian, George, thanks very much for being here. Appreciate you making the trip. So Brian, it wasn't exactly the way I said things were going to be in that opening, is that right?
No, it's like a lot of things Apple do. You state it very simply, but it's very complicated.
Go right in for the kill, all right,
right.
Brian? Could you describe a little bit about the structure of the class?
Yes, it's based on a very different philosophy. A lot of lower division and large class education in this country, and we have 200 people in this class, is based on the notion you dump people in a large class and you entertain them. It's rather like a movie. This class is based on a different philosophy. There's a teamwork between the instructor and the student and the teaching assistant, and the student and the material, and we are as much tools as the books and the reading. It is also based on the philosophy that the student accepts responsibility for learning and for how hard they want to learn. And the whole course is very much wrapped around the integration of the computer into a week-long individualized learning experience 10 times a quarter. And it's also centered around a special learning center where we have the equipment plus comfortable chairs where the students can learn in a comfortable environment and interact with us on a one-to-one basis and with each other. But the main linchpin for the whole thing is the computer, and my colleague George is the expert on the computers and should talk about them.
Actually, it's unfair to think of the course as being completely centered around the computer. The course is actually centered around the student. The computer serves as just another resource, just like Brian is, I am, the teaching assistants are, and the textbooks are. The computer serves as a resource that the student is expected to draw on it at particular points during their studies. The entire course is built around the course study guide, which is actually a roadmap through the series of resources that the student is using. And we use icons to point them towards specific resources at the appropriate time, as well as to tell them what work is expected of them at certain points in time.
So this is essentially a self-paced class, and they refer to the lectures and to the study guide in order to understand better where they should be?
Yeah, this book is a signpost. This signposts them through the class, but they accept the responsibility for doing the work. And this is desktop published.
Tell me a little bit about when you decided to use the Macintosh and why it was you decided to put the computers into your curriculum.
This was about 2.5 years ago. I've, for 24 years, taught this class mainly by lecturing, which is very unsatisfying. Then we tried audio tutorial instruction using tape slide narrations, but always the same frustration. How can we get a student to interact with real data, problem solve, write all the time, and in this class they write all the time and build basic skills, as well as becoming involved with the real world of archaeology. And then by chance I saw a hypercard demonstration and bells went off and alarms rang, and I thought to myself, this is it. This is the integrating force. And then I met George and we went from there, and we've been at it now for 2.5 years, and the course is now the only way we teach archaeology at Santa Barbara. And our students, I should mention, because there's another component here, it's a user-friendly computer. We have our students up from scratch on the computer and running in an hour.
So bells went off and you accused me of overhyping this.
Right?
Okay, I'm understanding this now, Brian. All right, can we see a little bit of the examples you brought
Sure.
with us?
The exercises actually run the gamut from basic information presentation through visualization tools to some actually fairly complex simulations. In the case of this particular example, what we've done is taken a series of crania that are scale drawings of crania all at the same scale, and the student can actually compare crania from various fossil hominids to see the differences, the dramatic evolutionary differences between the various species that eventually led up to ourselves. And it presents this information, they can also do measurements, it presents this information in a way that you cannot possibly present it in a textbook or in a lecture or any of the traditional formats. It's very elegant, it's very simple, and yet it's a very powerful tool. The students really look at this and they really understand what it is we're conveying about changes in morphology.
Mm-hmm. I understand you have another example here.
Yes, this is another, again, visualization example.
Let's take them on a journey, George, right through the Maya ceremonial center of Tikal in AD 600. The Maya lords were powerful men who controlled water, great ritual power, and using a helicopter, we're taking the student on a ride through this artificial landscape of mountains and pyramids and temples, which had great symbolic importance to the Maya. And this is something not even a professional archaeologist really does.
Now you have other simulations that you worked on,
Oh yes, if we had the time, but we would love to take you into the Middle Zambezi Valley in Africa for a year and give you a hypothetical family and grain and land and let you loose to learn the realities of surviving in this environment as a farmer. And at times the computer, at regular intervals, regularly actually, will bring in rain or no rain. It will bring hippopotamuses or elephants to stamp on your grounds. Your relatives will die and you'll lose your land. So you really seriously learn the dynamics of subsistence agriculture and also of the third world, of a world very different from that of Northern California and Apple.
Well, that's true, but the rest of it sounds like the rest of my day-to-day existence. Okay, why don't we go now to some examples. We've got we sent some cameras down to talk to some of your students a little while ago, and let's get some of their reactions.
It's different, and it's much more direct than your average class. The information you're getting is both from a teacher and a computer, and books, of course. And as a result, you're kind of, it holds your attention better.
It's a new way of learning using the computer actually in the class. I never had anything like that in any college course or high school course. I've never gotten to use a computer so personally.
We're learning how to interact with people. We're learning how to be a team player, and I think we're learning how to be leaders.
With the added communication between teacher and student, which you don't normally get in a class, which I have to say is one of the things that the computer does. It adds communication, which you wouldn't think, but it does. With that, you really get more of an opportunity to refine the class, to meet your teacher, to get to know the subject. The computer work encourages cooperation.
It's like it's a neat bonding that we have this group, because we're all suffering at the same time, catching up with the pace, and so we're all leaning and supporting each other. That's what I look forward to, just being with the group, just being back with this family that we created here.
I think that too many of the university professors are afraid to teach like this because they're not willing to give students the responsibility.
I mean, you have to have a lot of self-discipline, but it kind of challenges you to do that.
Well, it seems like there is a student referenced computer-assisted suffering going along in all this. Was an added side benefit here, I guess. Tell us a little bit about the impact you've seen this has been having in your class.
Yes, Bert, some of them do suffer. And yes, Bert, they have to accept responsibility, but that makes us well pleased. We've done some very thorough evaluations with a colleague in the education department. And when you get anecdotal stories coming back, you hear of people learning about self-discipline, learning about writing skills, learning about talking to others in a very anonymous form of class environment, and getting to know the instructors well. And we're well thrilled with it. This whole course is built on teamwork, and this whole teamwork concept is fundamental to us.
Now, you two worked on this together as a team, you and George. Can you talk about that a little bit, the impact that had on the development?
The team is a very, very important, pervasive concept here. The team, this is a managed course. It's not a taught course. I am not God, the professor. I am a partner. But I'm a partner as much with George. I developed the study guide. I did a lot of the writing. I do most of the day-to-day administration. I do the politicking, which sometimes is intense. And we have equal authority, George and I, over the content, 50-50. And we argue and we argue, and the secret of this is to argue. George is the man that makes the Macintosh pirouette, makes it dance Strauss waltzes. He is the maestro of the computer and of animation, which is very important. George, tell us about it.
Pirouetting, I like this, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the animations you've shown here, George. If you can describe how it is you put those together.
Actually, it's the case that the animations are only possible. I mean, I'm an archaeologist. I am not trained as an animator or a graphic designer. The animations are possible because the tools are there. The technology has provided tools that empowered me and other people to create very powerful animations that convey very difficult subject matter in a very effective manner. And we have a couple of examples here that were also created at Santa Barbara. These are part of a video disc project for the geology department. And again, these are animations, this one of ocean currents, global ocean currents, that deal with very complex or very large phenomena that are hard to convey verbally, hard to convey with text. And yet these were created first time out by a graduate student in the biology department. And these are his first efforts.
So we don't have to separate content experts from the animators.
Exactly, and that's the key to this technology, both the animation technology like Director and the HyperCard technology, is that the people who know the subject matter and have the vision of how it should be presented are also the ones who are producing the product.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. It looks like some fun stuff. I'm looking forward to meeting those hippos, too. You guys aren't off the hook yet, though. We're going to have the Q&A session back at the end, so we'll see you back over there for that. Thanks again very much. Monica.
Wow, wasn't that great? It makes me want to go back to school again. You may have thought when Brian said that his class meets once a week and then much of the students' time is spent with the computer, that the interaction between all participants, students and instructors, is decreased. And as you heard from the students, this doesn't by any means have to be the case. In Jackson, Michigan, we found a great example where writing skills are developed and a similar sense of community among the students exists. In fact, it's part of the curriculum. Here's Paula Harris's freshman English writing class at Jackson Community College.
This is a first-year writing class. The focus, even though we're in the computer classroom, is on developing the students' writing skills. I've asked them, within their groups of 5, to link screens using Timbuktu. They are trying to produce one document with 5 voices. And if you've ever tried to reach consensus with 4 other people, you know how difficult that can be. Anytime you have a collection of people like this, each group will have its own personality. This particular assignment requires them to move beyond their own feelings or ideas about the issue. And I'm asking them to combine feelings, ideas. There are 5 of them. They can draw on the experience from 5 different lives and produce a much richer document than they might produce singly. I don't think that collaborative writing is necessarily better than individual writing, but I think it requires a different set of skills. And if these students are going to go out into the business world, they're going to be working with other people.
There's always this delicate balance between making your views known and not irritating the rest of the group. Not only do I write what I feel, but maybe someone else will say something, and it'll spark another idea that I can write about.
My ordinary method of teaching in a regular classroom, if you'll allow me to use that, doesn't work here. The regular classroom seems to be more teacher-centered, regardless of my impulses to make it otherwise. Somehow, in the computer classroom, that's removed altogether. You see, even though I have this workstation, there is no center in this classroom where I stand and talk to them. I move from group to group, and it physically takes me out of the center so that the students become the focus of the classroom.
A lot of the classrooms, as far as I know, are going away from an instructor-oriented or instructor-centered classroom to a student-centered classroom. Because after all, the students are the most important thing in the classroom. They're the reason that the instructor's there to begin with.
And I would prefer to have the students learn and grow on their own, and I can be the coach. I can help them identify their strengths and weaknesses. I can respond to their work. So I'm always a part of the classroom and a part of their development. But they are the center, I'm not. I think that the Macintosh is a filter for the students. They can look at their responses, they can think about what they're saying, they can edit, and they're considering the way they view the world, and they're changing it through this technology.
The ability for me is I can be as creative as I want. I don't think I could go back to the way I wrote before. This has really made it for me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. If our world leaders could get along, like the 5 of us have here at this table this morning, it'd be a lot nicer world.
That sure looks like a fun class, doesn't it? Collaborative learning, either on a local area network like at Jackson, or even in work groups like we saw at UC Santa Barbara, is a lively, exciting way to teach and learn. These are students in a collaborative writing lab at the University of Texas at Austin. Like the class we just saw at Jackson, these students collaborate in real time on a local network. and have similar lively discussions on their Macintosh computers. And here's their instructor, Hugh Burns, to try something probably a little bit out of the ordinary, wouldn't you say, Hugh?
I'd say that's accurate. We're going to have some fun today.
Okay, what we've done here is set up a network between what you're working on here, Jackson Community College in Michigan, and your class back at UT Austin, right?
Exactly right. And what's going to happen is we have these separate communities that are going to become one community right in front of our eyes today. So we'll be participating. We're going to be posted an assignment, and we're going to be interchanging about that assignment.
Okay, before we go into that, let's describe a little bit of what we've got going here.
Good. You're
working on a Macintosh 2 CI where you'll be posting the assignments, and in fact, you've already done that, and we're going to be looking for some of the responses to that.
Exactly.
We're using as a file server this Macintosh 2 CI, which is connected to. Connecting us to the remote sites in Jackson and in Austin are these two Shiva 9600 baud net modems. At their end, they've also got net modems. In Jackson, they're working on a Macintosh SEs and also have a net modem to connect to our file server here. And in Austin, they'll be using Macintosh 2 SIs in their lab and also have the Shiva net modem like Jackson. We should also note that both classrooms are running an Apple taught network. Okay, what we're trying to do here is bring together computer technology, TV technology, and satellite technology all in one big bang, and I don't know why. So Austin is standing by, is that correct?
Yeah, looking good.
And back in Jackson, it looks like you folks are keyed up too, is that right?
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're ready to go. So what's the assignment, Hugh?
Looks like they're getting impatient there in Austin too. Oh, Hugh, where's the assignment? Well, John, here comes the assignment. Your assignment is to imagine what such technologies will bring us in the future. What do you think out there? Let's interchange about the processes of writing, thinking, and learning, and let's reflect on how we do what we do and what we can be. Let's speculate on how new innovative technologies are changing education. So let's just do it. And here they go.
Okay, now do we have a couple of responses up already?
Let's see who's coming in here. Yeah, here comes Doug. Doug is coming in from Austin. And Jerry is coming in. Hi, guys. And let's see what else is coming.
We got Jerry wishing us good luck. Thanks for that, Jerry.
We all hope that everyone is exposed to new ideas, says Kevin. And here's another one. John, yeah, it's starting to be quite a dialogue. They're getting their first messages posted here.
Yeah, talking about hypertext a little bit. Oh,
yeah.
This is great. Okay, good. Why don't we let this dialogue, or I guess we talked earlier, but this could be termed a polylog, I guess, develop a little bit.
Exactly right.
And we'll get back to this later to discuss the implications of this type of technology, long-distance learning, and have a little more conversation about that.
Terrific.
Monica?
You know, I think it's worth noting the interaction we're seeing there between a large university and a community college, not to mention that they are hundreds of miles apart. When we were brainstorming about this concept with Hugh and Michael Joyce in Jackson, you'll meet him a little later on, it really was felt that this mix of technology may be a bridge for more collaboration of this type in the future. I think what we've seen so far also tells us that you don't have to be any particular size school to be doing exciting things in your classrooms. To borrow a line from the commercial we saw at the first of the telecast, we are indeed today limited only by the size of our ideas and the degree of our dedication. I'd like to point out that Jackson is one of 10 colleges in the Apple Community College Alliance, a new program developed here at Apple. 10 community colleges were chosen for their integration and developments with the Macintosh at their campus. In fact, our next example is another Alliance school. Up next, we take you to St. Petersburg Junior College in St. Petersburg, Florida. Bonnie Peters is a math and physics instructor there, and I want you to note her first Macintosh experience was about a year and a half ago. She's using what they refer to there as a teaching bunker. Look at what she's doing and how her students are responding.
Let's multiply through by mass. And what I want you to notice is the last term on the right here, we've got MA times T. What is M times A?
There are a lot of people that are using the teaching bunker in a variety of classes. We have classes being taught in cell biology, ecology type courses. We have physics, of course. We have calculus classes being taught with a bunker. We have writing lab where they're making use of the teaching teaching bunker to do the teaching in there. We have more and more people getting trained all the time to make use of the technology, and that means lines are forming. Faculty members are getting excited. People that have been here for just a few years, like myself, people that have been here for 20 and a few years, are getting excited about doing teaching in a new and more exciting way.
Okay, let's talk about collisions, since we're just watching some collisions. We can classify them using energy consideration.
And it came to a big surprise to the students when one day I walked to the middle of the classroom to where the bunker was, and I get the keys out and I start opening it up, and I'm doing all this stuff, and I took class a little earlier than I usually get there, which really kind of shocked them a little bit. It came as a big surprise to them, but I think a very pleasant surprise.
Definitely made the difference. I was going to drop the class, and the computer came in. I went up to the instructor and said that it definitely helped, and I was going to stay through the class because it was easier to understand that way.
In the class, for the most part, all the time is spent on traditional lecture time. We have a few demonstrations using the Macintosh. Not very many demonstrations not using the Macintosh.
It brings it to life.
Yeah.
Where she'd be drawing pictures on the board and saying, no, now this car is colliding with this car. We're actually seeing two balls collide, and what's really going to happen. It's more
what
lifelike.
direction they're going in, or what, you know, where the forces are, where you can't show forces if you're drawing two. I mean, you could draw them, but you're not going to show, I mean, you'd have to have so many drawings up there. It's confusing.
We can go through and more easily present the same basic lecture material, but in a way that makes it more easy for them to assimilate, more easy for them to keep track of as far as following what's going along. It's more structured.
Anne, you had a question?
Yes, what happens to the velocity of the two whatever's colliding when one collides with the other one? What happens to that?
I feel like I'm not really teaching the subject matter any differently with the part that I have on the HyperCard stack, where it's just going through and developing the material. As far as from my vantage point, I'm doing exactly the same thing I was doing before, but it's portable. The students can get a copy of the stack and they can work with it on their own, and instead of looking in their notebook and having this whole problem all worked out and not having any clue where the beginning was or what the extra stuff was they wrote in, when they go through the stack and they can go through a card at a time and they can see how you got that solution. And I think that's a really big advantage for the students.
So no problems with those two parts. We haven't even got to the new stuff yet.
One of the most exciting things as an instructor, as a teacher, is seeing the light go on when a student really understands something. And if you really are a teacher, if you really are in this profession to teach, you really enjoy those little sparks, and the hours that you put in preparing whatever it is you've used in the computer is worth it. When you have one student come up to you and say, this is it, this has really helped me, I wish you had been using the computer all the time. Those comments, there's no payment for those, but for the most part, if you're in teaching, this is not the profession one chooses just for a big paycheck. But if anyone wants to send any big paychecks, we won't turn them down.
Thank you all at St. Petersburg for sharing your story with us. Let's take a closer look at what's inside a teaching bunker. There's a Macintosh SE30, a CD-ROM, and a Laserdisc player. She uses a projection system for overhead displays, which actually fits on the top of a regular overhead projector. It's really a nice, simple, and effective system, and would probably cost between $3,300 to $8,000. St. Pete's currently has 8 of these in place on 3 of their 4 education sites, with plans for 60 more in the next 3 years. That's 60, wow. The entire college, when completed, will be networked using local talk with an Ethernet backbone and a T1 wide area network. You know, it's worth noting how HyperCard is playing a big role in both Brian and Bonnie's classes. Brian's whole course is designed around HyperCard, and Bonnie uses HyperCard to create easy access to a commercial software package. Let's take a look now at another HyperCard example, but one that's used in a totally different way, interactive video. What we have here is a typical interactive video setup, a Macintosh computer and a video disc player. The Macintosh controls the video disc player with one simple cable connection. Now, out of the box, HyperCard doesn't know how to control a video disc. However, we can teach it. It's extendable with the installation of some commercial software called video disc drivers. It's really quite simple. What we're going to look at now is Martin Luther King, part of the ABC News Interactive series. This is part of a series of video discs that ABC News Interactive is producing. They address both current issues and historical events. The video disc itself contains 54,000 images on each side. Each one contains an enormous amount of documentary footage and articles that have been culled from the ABC News archives. I'm going to go ahead and insert the video disc now so we can take a look at this. And while that's loading, I'll open up our HyperCard stack here so we can take a look at this. What you're looking at right now is the menu for the ABC News Interactive series. It's HyperCard that allows you or the student to easily access and manipulate the information on the video disc or in the stack itself. We're going to go to Martin Luther King and side 2. This is a typical HyperCard stack with hotspots called buttons that let you easily maneuver through the stack. This is side 2, which contains 3 main sections. I can either play an overview of the section from Ted Koppel, or we can go directly to each section just by clicking on the image, either the I Have a Dream speech, the legacy of Martin Luther King. But let's go to section 3 and listen to some interviews from students and get their viewpoints on racism issues today. Let's listen to this student.
I don't feel that I have the same chance that a white, young girl would have. I'm looked at differently.
Now I can stop this at any point in time, rewind, or play it again. I want to expand this control box here and show you a really nice feature. There are 2 audio tracks on any video disc, and this one you can hear the audio in either English or in Spanish. Let's take a quick listen again in Spanish.
Existen muchos estereotipos.
Now wasn't that interesting? Let's go to another section quickly. This is the I Have a Dream speech. We have a lot of flexibility in how we access and listen to this speech. I'd like to show you just a few features. There's an overview piece here. We can go directly to the text of the speech by clicking here, and we can scroll through that text. If I know a particular part of the speech that I want to find, such as I have a dream, let's find out where he first began speaking about that. We see it comes up right here. Now I can also take and copy any of this information to another document for a presentation or lecture, or I can print it out. In addition, there's a tool called Documentary Maker. Now this tool is really an authoring tool within an authoring tool, letting me customize both the video clips and the text. I've opened Documentary Maker here, and by using this tool here called Custom Clip Maker, I can actually even create my own clips within here. Now ahead of time I created one clip from the speech called I Have a Dream. Let's go ahead and play that short clip right now.
Hoy albergo un sueño.
Oh, I see we have it in Spanish still, so I know some of you out there understood that. We'll go back to English again. And let's go ahead, and I want to show you how easy this is to create your own clip. I'm going to go ahead and scroll to the very end of the speech. We've got it sectioned out here so I can find the last section, and I want to take a short clip from there. Now that took me to the section. I can either select a start point now, I can play to find my start point, or I can actually select a frame number. You see a number at the top of the screen here. Each image on the video disc has a number assigned to it. And since I practiced this once in rehearsal, I know the number I want is 33444. Let's go ahead and do that. It will take me directly there. I'm going to select that as my new start point, and then I'm going to play, and we'll find a good point to stop.
Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
And that's exactly what I wanted. I'm going to stop there and let's quickly preview that clip.
Free at last, Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
That's exactly what I wanted. Now, for your own use, you can actually create a lineup, they call it, and select many of these clips, assemble them in any sequence, and use them in your presentations or lectures. I think that's really a nice feature. There's many more things I could show you here, but there's not much time. But if you are interested in this program and this type of setup, you can tune in to our April 25th telecast called Multimedia 201. Mark your calendars now. Well, let's check back in with Bert and Hugh. How are you guys doing over there?
Great, Monica. Thanks very much. Well, let's see what you've got going in your document here. Do you call this a document, Hugh?
Oh, this is a document. This is a text under construction, and it's been pretty fierce out there. Probably have in the neighborhood of about 200 messages have been posted so far, coming in from all sectors. Deborah down in Jackson has opened up an issue about how to convey sincerity over this medium when we're separated, and that's been one major motif of this discussion. Kevin is wondering here at the top about how we become poets fairly quickly, and whether or not we should confine our comments and emotions to single and accessible pieces of literature. Here comes my colleague John Slayton. John is the director of our computing center down in Austin in our English department, and John tells Deborah, you just did. Deborah, convey sincerity. Students often express that concern, but as a teacher I think it actually makes for better, clearer writing. People have to try harder to make themselves clear. All right, let's see. Oh, here's Jackson Skits coming in. I don't know about you people, but we were promised pizza for being here, and I'm feeling really malnourished.
Yeah, Skits, we were promised pizza too. I don't know what happened.
And Deborah and another John from Austin. Deborah, that's a good point. And they're starting to get it work together, and they're talking offline. They're talking in their classrooms. We can't hear that. You know, the giggles and titters of the classroom. I've started composing an answer to Deborah and John, saying their comments are right on. And the role of the teachers and the role of the students are becoming interchangeable over this kind of networked classroom.
Well, this has been fascinating to watch. The lights have been blinking, the comments coming in. It was really fun, and you've been clattering away at the keyboard here too while we were going through that other piece. Let me play the journalist a little bit here. You developed the idea of long-distance learning, and we talked about that. I know you got really pretty excited about that whole concept. Can you tell me why? What struck a chord with you on that?
Well, first, the theme for this show, Macintosh is in the classroom, and then when we had the chance to do distance learning, we realized that the classroom was going to be expanding, and that it would be a glass room, and it would be glass rooms where people at Jackson and people at UT Austin could share their information together. So it's terrific.
So classroom to glass room with a G?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
It's cute.
New words. Yeah, here we go. What do you see about the implications for all of this? Where do you think this could be going?
Well, this is a transformation in education where teachers are going to empower their students in the writing classrooms. The simple point here is that it'll be a writing classroom where you do writing. It'll be a reading classroom where reading is going on. You'll interpret in real time, and you'll have a lot of fun doing it.
Great, good. Thanks a lot, Hugh. Let's go now to Deborah McLee at Jackson Community College. Deborah's a student out there. What do you think about all this, Deborah?
I think this is great because students are learning two things at once, the course that they're taking and also how to operate all the technology around them. We might not otherwise have access to all this.
So the idea about not having an instructor right there with you is fine with you, huh?
I think it's just great. It allows us as students to interact a lot more and to pick up other ideas from other people.
What about the idea of long-distance learning? Say that we were able to bring in the concepts from a professor, say, in another country to come in.
I think that would be even better. The more views we can get, the better our learning experience is going to be.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Deborah. I appreciate you joining us. Also, we'd like to go to John Stansberry down at UT Austin. John, what do you think?
The significant aspect of this system is that it democratizes the classroom. You don't have the hierarchical relationship of instructor and student. It levels it into a partnership and makes it much more enjoyable to be in the classroom.
Great. Thanks very much for that, John. You're actually using this right now. As I understand it, you came up with the idea, Hugh, of going to from the local area network that you were using just in your class back in December to the concept of doing this long-distance learning, which we actually tried right here, and it worked.
It's working.
I saw it. I saw it.
I believe now that this is working.
Where do you see this going in the future?
Well, this thing's just going to keep on connecting more and more classrooms, different kinds of communities. It'll be a chance for teachers to be in networks themselves to comment on what it is they would like to teach. There'll be communities of students forming separate conferences and study groups to do what they need to do in order to prepare for classes. So there'll be conferences of students and conferences of teachers and communities that'll be ready to learn using these technologies.
So you see this as beyond just being a student collaboration tool, it might be a faculty collaboration tool
Absolutely.
also.
The community is going to be great.
Great. Well, all right. Thanks very much, Hugh. I really appreciate that. And you'll be joining us later also during the Q&A session.
Absolutely.
So we'll stand by for that. As will Michael Joyce, one of the guys who helped create this. He'll be joining us live from Jackson for that Q&A session also. Let's look now at a couple of universities where the classroom of the future has found its roots today. This is Vanderbilt University's Advanced Classroom. Here, up to 30 students and their professor have interactive access to what seems to me like every multimedia resource in the world out there. Today, the Advanced Classroom is being used and shared by the Psychology Department, Math, Engineering, Physics, and Economics departments. But the first group to discover the real impact of the electronic classroom was Vanderbilt's Math Department.
We've taken mathematics that's very abstract, hard to understand, and generated pictures on the computer which illustrate these ideas and construct them immediately.
The impact of multimedia, I think, is twofold. It's the first is interactivity, where you can have students doing things and professors doing things. Even the professors get curious sometimes. And, gee, I wonder what that does. And everyone learns more. And then also it's just having so many different ways to present information.
I could not do this in the way that I like to do the class, the way I used to, which was to teach it as a seminar. That's to an enormous power. I have an ability to interact with their system and do things that nobody's done before.
Classroom 2000 was all IBM based, and the networking issues were issues. The token ring solution hadn't come yet, and that's been a real boon to us in having the networking and being able to network not only with the DOS-based machines that are here, but with the university mainframes, with the VACs that we have here in the business school. So having the networking interfaces have made the Macintosh so much easier to introduce to an environment like this. Unfortunately, I'm real one-sided in terms of not knowing a lot about the DOS technology, but knowing a lot about the Macintosh technology. But in an environment like this, having both the interoperability of the DOS environment and the Macintosh environments enable the professors to bring so much more to the students, to bring so much more to the classroom. Those things are key to the kinds of graduates we want to produce and key to how we're teaching executives.
When we shot the Classroom 2000 story at the University of Texas Business School, we came across a business simulation that we found pretty exciting, and we thought you might too. You may remember the People Express airline that shook up the industry a few years ago with cheap fares. Did you ever wonder why they went under? What if you were in the chairman's seat of People's Express and could make the decisions that could save or sour a once blooming airline? A lot of MBA students these days are getting a shot at it. Take a look.
Well, People Express was one of the first post-deregulation airline startups. People Express had a team concept where people worked in self-managed teams. There was virtually no hierarchy, no secretaries and support staff. And indeed, this was a spectacularly successful company in the early years. They went from 3 jets, no market presence at all, to $1 billion plus in revenues in just 4 years. Then they failed in an equally spectacular fashion. The history was that I built the first version of the simulation model when People Express was still going strong, and couldn't find any policies from that moment forward that I could implement in the simulation, which would save the company. Later, about a year later, they actually went out of business, and I then developed it into a full-blown management flight simulator. Initially, we only thought we would be doing it for Sloan. We had no larger goals. It turns out, though, that it's extremely easy for other people who haven't any particular experience and who don't need any training to run it on their own. So it's now been adopted by a wide range of other business schools and universities across the board. The University of Texas at Austin Business School was the first to adopt it. They also use it in an orientation program. But it's also now been adopted by the Harvard Business School, by Stanford, USC, Notre Dame, the London Business School, and about a dozen other major universities all over the world. We picked Macintosh early on to take advantage of simulation packages like Stella and have made it a critical part of the system dynamics curriculum here. It has been spectacularly successful for us. When I started teaching the System Dynamics course for the MBA students, which focuses on applications and corporate strategy, I inherited 20 or so students a year. It's now offered every semester with standing room only at 60 to 100 students each semester, and we can't meet the demand. In large measure, that's due to the interactivity of the assignments and the ease of use of the simulation tools which Macintosh facilitates. If we launch the software, you'll see the control panel for this simulation. You have a People Express jet here, but the most important part are the decision window here, where you will be making 5 decisions, the reports window, where you can get a status report on what's happening in your simulated People Express at any time, and then a detailed information system with graphs and spreadsheets of lots of different things that are happening in your company. The 5 decisions that you have to make are how many planes to purchase each quarter of a year, starting with the first day of service in 1981, how much to spend on marketing, what fraction of your revenues to spend on marketing and advertising, how many people to hire each quarter, what fares to set, and what service levels to offer. That is this going to be a no-frills airline as People Express actually was, or are you going to try to offer first-class service for every passenger?
If you've got 6 guys per plane and you're running at 100% load factor, they're getting overworked and they're all going to quit. If you hire your turnover, you'll typically lose more than what you lost last time. Because you're growing. Largely.
The more I play it, try different things, some things work and some things don't. So I guess that's part of the game.
We're having a good time. We learn a lot about how business works, and I'm an engineer, and this is teaching me a whole heck of a lot about what I'm going to be learning over the next couple of years, and hopefully what I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
What we're proposing here is not that the computer is the answer box, which has a correct and true model of People Express. It's clearly not. In fact, one of the first things that I tell people in the workshop is, yes, there's a computer simulation model here in this computer that you're going to work with, and this model is wrong. And then I detail all the ways in which it's wrong. It's very important psychologically to have people shift their perceptions about the computer from this is the answer box, which is the way computers are primarily used in our society today, to this is a laboratory which I'm going to be able to use to develop my personal understanding. What's important is the quality of the mental model that people take away from this experience, not the quality of the model that's in the box.
You know, there were 150 Macintosh SEs in that story, set up at